Hey everyone, Christina here from Our Wood Home. In this video today, I'll be showing you how to make a really simple tank top. It's just a basic sleeveless style that I wear a lot. I like to layer my shirts if they're not quite long enough or if they're a little bit more sheer than I would like. I also just like to wear a lot of layers in the winter and stuff, so instead of having all the bulk in the sleeves, I prefer just a sleeveless tank top. So I've been making my own for a little bit, for a few years now, and it's really easy to do. You don't need to be an expert at sewing, and you don't necessarily need any fancy equipment. I've only made them by sewing machine, but I'm sure that you could do it by hand as well. So first let's talk about fabric. You need something that has stretch. So this has stretch in both directions. It stretches this way and a little bit this way. So if you have a fabric like this, I would suggest cutting it so that this stretch goes across your body. Disregard these lines. They are from another project. So you'll need a fabric that has stretch, obviously, because it's going to be a fitted tank top. As I said, I wear these for layering, so I prefer it to be quite snug fitting as opposed to loose. I'm not too concerned with modesty in this aspect because this is just a layering piece. If you wanted to make this a top to wear not as a layering piece, you can do that. You just need to adjust your measurements accordingly. So this is one that I made quite a while ago. It's pretty rough. It's very basic, as you can see. I didn't even finish the raw edges. That's one of the nice things about using a knit fabric, which is what this is called, the stretchy fabric. It doesn't fray, so if you don't know how to finish the raw edges nicely, or if it's kind of tricky sometimes, it'll just naturally curl on its own and you won't have to fiddle around with it. You can see that's what I did on the neckline too. This tank top is cut low, lower than I would wear it for a shirt, but I just wanted this one specifically to wear underneath some more sheer dresses and tops. All right, so to begin, you'll need your fabric. I always suggest when using any type of fabric, pre-wash and pre-dry your fabric as if you were laundering a normal garment. That way, if it does shrink, it shrinks before you start cutting anything out and you'll still have a proper fitting garment. You can take a top that you already like the fit of. Mine's got a big fluff on it. So I know that this one fits me well. I like the width of it, I like the length of it. So if you have a t-shirt that has a good fit that you want to recreate, you can definitely do that. So since this is a sleeveless top, all I'm going to do to make it easy to trace is just tuck the sleeves in so that I still have the shape of the armhole. I think you just heard my phone beep. Sorry about that. So if you're going to be tracing a t-shirt, you'll just lay it out on your fabric. I like to just double up my fabric so that I'm only tracing once. Let's go ahead and position our t-shirt. I'll show you what that looks like from the top so you can see a bit clearer than just this light colored blur on the bottom here. But I'm going to lay my t-shirt out and then I'm just going to use some pins to put it in place. You don't need to do this necessarily, but that's what I prefer to do because what we're going to do next is trace around our t-shirt. And it's easier to do that if it's not moving around on your fabric. So remember, we're going to tuck the sleeves in. They don't have to be all the way into the armholes, just enough that you can trace the armhole shape. So can you see there how I've tucked the sleeves into the armholes? That's what you want to do to be able to trace around that shape. Remember, I said you want to make sure you use a shirt that fits you the way that you like. So this one is actually quite long. I'd forgotten how long it really was. So I don't have enough fabric to make it as long as this shirt, but I did some more measuring and realized I don't want my new tank top to be that long. So that's not going to be a problem that I don't have enough, but just make sure you take into account the fit of the shirt you're using as a template. So what I'll do now is trace around this shirt. I'm just going to use a chalk pen because that's what I have, but you can use like white school chalk. You will want to leave a little bit for seam allowance, but you don't need to leave that much since we want this top to be snug fitting anyways. So trace around all the sides, leaving a little bit of extra space, and just follow the curve of the armhole there. When it comes to tracing around the neckline, I suggest doing just the back neckline because that's a little bit higher, and then when we're going to be cutting the front neckline, we can do that just on the one piece of fabric. I think that makes sense. You'll see what I mean. If you wanted to hem all the raw edges of your tank top, you can do that. Just make sure you leave a little bit of extra space when you're tracing around the neckline because you will be rolling that down. So see what I mean about tracing just around the back neckline. If you decided to do a rolled hem like this one, you'd probably want to leave a little bit more space to be able to roll it down, because if you roll it down from this measurement, it might be a little lower than you'd prefer. Let me take all these pins off of my template t-shirt and I'll show you how this looks. So let me try to show you how this looks. So you can see we've got the shoulder pieces up here, the neckline, side seams, and then the bottom. Mark the center between the two shoulder seams. So my neck opening is 8 inches. So I'm going to mark with my pen 4 inches. So I marked it between the two shoulder seams using this mark here. And I'm going to cut out just along one side of the tank top, all the way to the center line here. Next, what I'll do is fold it in half, making sure that my center line is visible. That's how I know it's perfectly folded in half. See? And then I'm going to use the cut half to trace around the other one just to make sure my lines are lining up perfectly. So I've cut out to my center line. And now let's fold that over. Folding it right on the line. I've made it so that it's folded in half along that exact center line, and now I'm just going to trace around the piece I already cut out so that I've got a symmetrical garment. It's all matched up. It's nice and even. Now let's open that up. Looks good. So what we're going to do is make sure our fabric is the right side together. The right side, as in the correct side, is the part that's on the outer side, the part that you want to see when you're wearing the garment. So this is the outside, the right side, this is the wrong side. So I've got my fabric with the right sides together already. Let me double check. Yes, I do. And now what we're going to do is we'll sew along the shoulder seam here on both sides. And we'll sew along the side seam from under the arm down to the bottom. And we'll do that on both sides. For sewing our tank top seams, we're going to want to do a stretch stitch. So that's shown as number 5 and 6 on my machine here. I've got a Janome 3160QDC. I know this is one of the sort of the upper range of machines, which does have the digital panel here. So these are the 2 stitches that we'll want to do. They're the exact same, except the needle placement is more center on this one, and then off to the left side with number 6. But if your machine does not have this kind of digital display, I suggest looking in your manual or doing a quick search online for that machine to see which one is best as a stretch stitch or for sewing knit fabrics, because that's what we have. It's a stretchy knit. You can just do a straight stitch, which is shown as numbers 0 and 1 on my machine here. I've done tops with the straight stitch, but my problem is that if I stretch or bend a certain way, the stitches might come undone. So I guess you could try that if you don't have a machine that does the stretch stitching. But just be aware that it might not hold up as well as a stretch stitch. Alternatively, if you have a serger, you can just use that to make that nice edge. So here's the finished top. As you can see, the hem will curl up on its own naturally, which means you don't have to do the finishing of the raw edge there. If you wanted to, that's completely up to you. But I'm just going to leave my top as is. I like the little rolled hem there, and it's not meant to be worn as a top where the neckline will be visible. But anyways, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please feel free to let me know in the comments or give this video a thumbs up. If you like what I have here on my channel, I hope you'll consider subscribing. I make new videos whenever I have time, and right now that's usually once every couple weeks, but I do hope to improve on that in the future. Anyways, thank you again for watching this video. Bye!